Like to call the South. Sorry. Good morning. I would like to call the South Sound 911 Board of Directors meeting of May, goodness sakes, December 10th, 2025 to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Board Member Brandstetter. Board Member Bushnell.
Present.
Board Member Casebolt. Board Member Denson is absent today.
Yes.
Board Member Holm.
Here.
Board Member Hubler.
Here.
Board Member Holsey. Alternate Lane for Board Member Mello.
He's there.
He is?
Yeah.
Oh, he's online. Okay.
He's up there.
Sorry.
Board Member Rumbaugh.
Here.
Vice Chair McGilligan.
Here.
And Chair Dorr.
Present. Okay, now is the time for public comment. Will the clerk please read the public comment guidelines?
The board will now take public comment. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes unless otherwise announced by the chair. All comments shall be directed to the board as a whole. All speakers shall be courteous in their language and demeanor. I will announce when you have 30 seconds left to speak. The board will not respond to comments made during the public comment period.
And do we have any online, or I'm sorry, comments submitted ahead of time?
None submitted ahead of time.
Okay, and the only person that has signed up is Scott Hamill.
Correct.
I'm calling him, sorry.
Good morning, board. My name is Scott Hamill. My career in 911 started on December 18th, 1995 as a communications officer answering emergency and non-emergency phone calls for the Law Enforcement Support Agency. Within a few years, I was asked to join a team of peers responsible for training new employees. I found the responsibility to be sobering, but grew a passion for training. I later learned the roles of dispatcher and supervisor. I continued to be a utility player for several years, often switching roles between answering calls, training, dispatching, and supervising during any given shift. Following 18 years on the front line, I served 8 years as the Communications Center Director and 4 years as Deputy Director. On October 15th of this year, I was informed that the position of Deputy Director of Support Services has been eliminated from the classification plan of South Sound 911 and my employment terminated. As a 30-year career supporting local public safety comes to a close, my purpose here this morning is to express gratitude. I want to thank this board of directors for your interest and attention as I had the opportunity to report to you on relevant subjects on a regular basis. Thank you for your care and sincere interest in the workings of South Sound 911 and its community impacts. I've not had an opportunity to directly address the PSCOC group. If the opportunity presents itself, I would ask that you express gratitude to the chiefs and their representatives on my behalf. Their partnership and collaboration on many initiatives over the past 12 years have impacted me greatly. I would also like to thank former supervisor Jody Mayer, who has always encouraged me to continue growing throughout my career. Thank you to former Executive Director Andrew Neiditz, who promoted me to the role of Communications Center Director in 2013. He trusted me to lead efforts consolidating Communications Center operations from the Law Enforcement Support Agency, City of Fife, and City of Puyallup. He also nominated me for selection as a fellow with the American Leadership Forum, which is an organization that encourages leaders to solve issues collaboratively across Pierce County. Thank you to former Executive Director Deborah Grady, who selected me to the role of Deputy Director of Support Services in 2021 and charged me with the task of improving relations between the various units of South Sound 911, specifically with technology groups, customer agencies, and operations. Former IT Director Tim Hanna and I worked diligently to bring many incremental changes and improvements to technology resources, plans, processes, and workflows. We initiated several critical projects. Thank you to Mark Mears for his support as my direct supervisor when I was in the role of Communications Center Director and for his partnership in the role of Deputy Director. I want to affirm that the employees of South Sound 911, whether in a role as a first responder or in a support role, are amazing. And I appreciate the fact that they have had the opportunity to speak into my life and I into theirs. Together, we've experienced joys and tragedies of life. I'm grateful for the opportunity I had to pour commitment and passion into a worthy cause for the past 30 years. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you for your service. Is there anyone else who would like to make public comment at this time?
Good morning. My name is Dan Olson. I'm a retired fire chief from Central Pierce Fire and Rescue. I know some of you are new and I don't, but today I really wanted to take a look back to where South Sound 911 began, which really was a vision. I came in 2017 and South Sound 911 was initiated prior to that through a collective vision of elected officials, labor groups, police and fire chiefs of the need to bring together all of the dispatch centers into one location in order to be more effective and efficient. There was a lack of timeliness with the way we were separated. And there was an initiative passed and South Sound 911 began. And about 5 years later, I came and was honored to serve as the fire chief of Central Pierce, but I came and became involved with South Sound 911. And with every vision, right, it takes courage, it takes a clarity, and it takes consensus in order to achieve it. And what we see today was not in a place of a physical building. And there was an operating board, a few other things, but it was dispatch centers in different locations. There were still 3 police dispatch centers. The E911 went through the state patrol, losing about, I think, 45 seconds to a minute each time. And yet here today, you sit, and so many of those things have been accomplished. This building, I remember there wasn't even a formula for how do we how does South Sound 911 receive funds from individual agencies, right? Those are the foundational things that I saw, again, to achieve this vision, which again took that courage, that determination. And I just wanted to say today for Julie Dorr in particular, who I worked with during that time, not only as at the South Sound 911 board, but she was also a member of the board for Central Pierce Fire and Rescue. And Julie, you exhibited all of those qualities in a way that, you know, you hope all elected officials do, because where you are today requires so many people, elected officials at the tip of that spear, bringing that policy forward and assuring that that vision has achieved. And what I saw with Julie Dorr's, her actions with courage, because there were difficult things we had to work through. There were difficult things that had political risk that took that kind of courage, her determination, and her ability to gain consensus. Councilmember Dorr at this time she was not a person who stayed on political ideology. She has always been for the citizens of Central Pierce, the citizens of the city of Puyallup, the citizens of Pierce County. And so I commend you, and I just wanted to stand and thank you for being someone that was, in many ways, an example for me to move forward and act in a complex environment. And you achieved that clarity and that vision, and you have done well. And I know in 10 years, you're going to look back, because the funny thing about strategic accomplishment is once it's done, everybody takes it as a status quo, and it's kind of forgotten, right? Sorry, that's the job that you guys have, but it's the reality of it. But Julie, I think you will look back in 10 years and you're going to go, I am so thankful for that opportunity, for that time to serve, because you've made a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Any other public comments? Okay, we will move on. Will the clerk please read the consent agenda?
Item number 1, approval of the minutes of the October 15th, 2025 Board of Directors meeting and radio study session. Item number 2, motion 2025-41 to authorize a contract with Environmental Control of South Sound Incorporated for janitorial services in an amount not to exceed $321,460. Item number 3, motion 2025-42 to authorize a contract with Communication Center Specialists Incorporated for annual 911 console maintenance and cleaning service at public safety answering points in Pierce County in an amount not to exceed $110,000 plus any applicable taxes. Item number 4, motion 2025-43, authorizing payment to Tyler Technologies for the financial and payroll software annual subscription in an amount not to exceed $112,700 plus any applicable sales tax. Item number 5, motion 2025-44, to authorize approval of the renewal of Cisco SmartNet support in an amount not to exceed $175,891 plus any applicable taxes. And item number 6, motion 2025-45, to authorize approval of the renewal of NetMotion licensing in an amount not to exceed $79,693 plus any applicable taxes.
Okay, is there any item on the consent agenda a member would like pulled for discussion at a later time? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Consent agenda is approved.
Four.
Oh, I apologize. I'm sorry.
Madam
Okay.
Chair,
Yes, sir.
move to approve the agenda as presented.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Agenda is approved. Sorry, I had a late council meeting. I'm a little bit off my game today. Okay, moving on to committees and other reports, radio system providers update. I see Mr. Key is with us.
Morning, Chair, Board. Daniel Key of the City of Tacoma on behalf of your radio system owners this morning. You've had quite a few discussions since I've seen you last, but I'm going to recap a little bit of activity. Since I've been here to report, we've had a very thorough discussion with all the chiefs and radio subscribers in the region around the varying competing interests, including single system, subscriber replacement, and the ongoing capital needs of all of the radio system networks. And there were a lot of good points shared in that meeting, a lot of open discussion. And post that discussion, the radio system owners and as staff, admin staff from Southside 911 have held multiple discussions, including a very large in-person discussion about what might be coming next from this system. And at this point, it is clear that we do not have a consensus on any particular direction that's going forward. So between the value of a one-time investment in a single system, further changes in integration and operations and the economic model behind it, and even funding models for the capital needs that are going to be necessary over the next 8 to 9 years for the radio network, there are still a lot of ideas. So I expect this to be an ongoing, continuing discussion for us. And so we're looking forward to changes in 2026 around what is currently the regional steering group as a forum for those discussions to continue to be responsive to the radio subscriber needs about bringing on new features such as internet-based technologies, other programming and operational changes, and having a forum for new information and new ideas about how we would move forward with the single system. But today, there isn't a consensus on the value of the one-time investment or a method to get to a new economic model that is really going to be sustainable in the long run, given the cost pressures that all of our agencies face. So I think that's the tightest bow tie I can put on that discussion, but I'd be happy to stand for any questions that the board may have.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Vice Chair McCullough, good.
Daniel, how you doing?
Doing right? Good to see you.
So when you say there's no consensus, is that between the three owners or because of, or the larger meeting that you had with police chiefs, fire chiefs, so on and so forth?
So everybody who was in that meeting will probably have their own interpretation
Yeah,
of how the
that's
meeting went, which is what leads me to believe that there really isn't a shared consensus across both the law enforcement community, the fire community, individual agencies. The owners are open to that input, but there wasn't a clear direction from the net of the subscribers that was going to be close enough to something that we could carry forward as a proposal.
So let me see, this is what, year 12?
Probably.
Just checking. Now, as I see it, most of the time, if the adults are in the room, the kids fight among themselves. At the end of the day, they don't want to get along. But isn't it the adults that need to tell the kids, this is what we're going to do? And
So
that wouldn't that be the three owners?
that is one framing of how to do this. I would say that there isn't anything that has enough of a consistent buy-in across all subscribers that any of the owner agencies has enough to work with to build a consensus to make any change.
How do we change that? How do you propose to get to the end result of either single system or a hybrid?
So I think the primary way that I would frame the barrier in front of us is that in order to get to a single system and a integrated operating model, and maybe more importantly for many stakeholders, an integrated economic model,
Mhm.
is a much larger investment in radio network than I believe all the stakeholders are willing to pay.
Okay.
And so it's one of those where the problem is bigger than a single one-time investment. It really is about a 10-year capital plan and operating plan for it that is larger than I think people want to acknowledge at this point. And so far, there isn't the groundswell of consensus that that is the thing that we want to spend our collective energy on at the scale that is going to be necessary to make it happen.
So with that said, with this board, what can this board do to facilitate or help move this forward? So we're not just I think I said this 3 years ago, and get to someplace, because I would love to drive a Cadillac, but I can only afford a Chevy. And so at the end of the day, I'm going to keep on looking at the Cadillac, but I'm
Mhm.
driving the Chevy as we talk. So we have to come to some consensus that this is what we'd like to have, but the money's not there to afford this. So we have to downsize to something that is affordable and works for our system. So is there something this board can do to facilitate or move this forward in the coming year?
In the coming year, I think it'll depend on the requests and the engagement that you get from individual agencies.
Okay.
Collectively as owners, if there is something that we see a direct partnership on, whether it's a policy change or a funding opportunity or any of those things, we will happily bring that to the table for a discussion.
Okay.
But right now, it really is about how often do we want to ask this question? And in what forums do we want to ask the question? Really, we can't afford the Cadillac is what
No.
it comes down to. And so how do we make a car, what I'll say, small fleet of Chevys, work best for us between here and there?
Okay. All right. So we can consider something other than the ultimate goal of the Cadillac.
So in the meantime, so let's talk about those competing interests. So we have device replacements
Mhm.
that are still necessary and are well underway and well managed, but there's still ongoing expenses out there. We will have radio network equipment replacement. These are the existing antennas, transporters, the IP-based stuff behind it, the technology gunk behind it that keeps this thing going. Those will all be coming end of life between now and 2032. So there's going to be major investments in the existing systems as they are, regardless of a single system. And
Okay.
those are additive costs. And beyond that, there'll be continued incremental features for internet-based technology integration. So these are the local LTE, dual service radios, local Wi-Fi hotspots, different location technologies. All of those things will be in conversation, that there may be small incremental investments or operational changes that we can make that improve our collective performance and service to the community that are not the full-on Cadillac single system.
So my last question or my last comment would be, is there a way that we can come up with it? As you say, I mean, the cost is the cost. Do we have, or does the owners have a list of like a menu of this is what needs to be done, this is what it's going to cost, and pick within the budget that we have, what we can and can't do and what is most efficient for the organization? Is that what we're going to try and do?
Something similar to that,
Okay.
yes. And so the challenge with technology projects is that they are infinitely tunable.
Mhm.
And so when we say one thing, like I want to integrate a chat application into a radio system, there's kind of a range of costs that we could talk about as a baseline,
Mhm.
but there's a lot of features. There's a lot of variables about uptake. The ranges in technology costs are very much wider than, say, something around physical infrastructure like a building. So it's hard for me to put a menu out there with price tags ahead of us spending some time talking about
Okay.
how it's going to cost. So, but what we can do is say, let's look at all the 5, 6, 7 things we might invest in across the radio system owners over the next few years, get some relative priority on them, decide which ones are worth quantifying, just like we did with single system. We decided this is the thing that everybody wants. Let's go put a price tag on it, see if it's even feasible in the first place, and then decide what we want to do about it. And here we are at the tail end of that discussion. We can do the same with those other things, but we need enough consensus that it's worth the time to price,
Right.
because there's work in that. And then knowing that the current access fee model, we're running at zero margin and including gaps in future capital expenditure replacement. So it comes down to maybe there's a small one-time contribution for each of these new features that in a way that we all think is equitable and manageable. But every one of those is some sort of increment on a monthly access fee. And so what is that ongoing expense worth the feature that we want to add to the system, and how are we going to get it done? And so we're well prepared to have that conversation ongoing through our direct conversation with subscribers.
Thanks, Dan. That's a lot of questions, a lot of comments,
yeah.
but I appreciate
Been a
your
long-
answers.
Long and complex.
We're gonna
process.
do-
I appreciate the-
And we're going to do it again next year. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Board Member Bushnell?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Pat, for all your questions. I think they're really good. And thank you, Daniel, for all the work you've done on this and helping be a big part of this group. One of the questions I had is, I know we're constantly kind of reiterating as we go through this process. Have we ever done any sort of formal needs assessment for both, not just the agency, but all the collective system owners / users to kind of really get at the granular? Because there's a lot of wants out there and a lot of great features, as you had mentioned, like it's infinite the amount of things and tuning that you can do. But is there a way we can kind of draw it back to where, like, what do we really need in order to operate effectively, unifiedly? And so, and I know that sometimes we do what's called needs assessments, and I'm assuming like we've kind of done some of those things, maybe on a smaller scale, but have we looked at maybe a larger like needs assessment in order to really quantify what, the difference between what we want and what we actually need in order to operate effectively?
So there's a couple answers to that I can share. And then of course your chiefs will have their own opinion on where we are as far as understanding the broader needs across all stakeholders, law enforcement, fire, and others. So we did do a series of workshops and assessments as part of the single system project that produced what we refer to as the list of functional outcomes. And that was like, let's get down to the list. If these things happen, we are successful with this project. And so that is the last formal documented effort of a needs assessment about what radio communication needs to do for the region that we've done collectively. However, we're always in ongoing conversation with our radio subscribers. So we have a list of desired other needs, such as the internet-based technology integration, IoT devices, chat, all those other things that go with it, that we are managing as a list of desired features. But there hasn't been a formal, here is how radio needs to be and what all of our communication technologies are for any unit in the field since the workshops that were affiliated with the single system. Now, our preferences have changed. Maybe our concept of operations have started to change a little bit, that analysis is starting to get a little bit stale at this point, but there hasn't been anything since we've been in constant conversation with each other that really leads me to believe that we're missing something out there. But as our collective attention turns to something next, then we'll find out what that prioritized next feature is.
Okay, thank you.
Board Member Brandstetter?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Daniel, let me just ask, I'm trying to get a context of what you said. I think it sounds like the system operators in your group have a vision, a laundry list vision, perhaps, of all the things that are possible if there is the will and the resources to do them. That the three shortfalls that we're at right now with trying to move forward is, first of all, not everybody prioritizes everything on the list in the same way as would benefit their particular agency or the collective group of agencies. Secondly, that there doesn't seem to be a firm number in terms of the commitment of resources that can be applied to this, both initially and ongoing. And that those are are actually matters that are beyond the control of your committee, but they belong with a number of governance organizations. This one, and each of the radio users has a governance organization that has purse strings going on. And then overall, that there is some uncertainty about the technology horizon as to what is actually going to be mandatory as people who are above this region working on next generation 911 issues. Is that a synopsis of the things that have to sort of be resolved?
Yeah, you're pulling at a lot of the common threads in this discussion throughout the entire single system process. Maybe a kind of reflection I can give you about how I received your comments and question is, there are differences of opinion about what types of technology we should invest in, but at least your radio system owners are confident that the existing technology, the land mobile radio, P25, digital trunk radio, just to geek out on the name of it, has a long enough future as the player provider of last resort to meet our performance requirements and expectation of the public, is going to have to be the foundation of the system for at least the next 10 years. We may add features on top of that, but this isn't an or in that case. But you're correct that there are a lot of features, and the way to get everybody on board is to bring all the features in, and then we have a price tag we can't afford. And then, so when we come down to doing less than that, then we don't have an agreement on where to go with each of the individual features that we might add. And so that's going to be an ongoing discussion based on cost, timing, and preference for all of our radio subscribers. So yeah, you're really on what some of the themes are for this.
Yeah, thank you. And Madam Chair, the Vice Chair's comments, I think that what can this board do in the short term to try to move this along? I think one of the things that we have not done with enthusiasm is try to engage with the other three governance entities that have a role in this, and that we would all have a role of, to some extent, deciding what needs to be done, but also deciding, what resources can be brought to bear, and even something as simple as trying to decide, do we want to increase our sales tax model that funds South 911, still requires at least Pierce County to agree with a timeline in a way that we're doing that. So I would think that in the short term, we sort of need to, well, Daniel and his folks are in the realm of what's possible in the technology, that it's that the issue of affordability is a discussion that we need to engage with the other governance entities that actually have some purse strings to be able to do that, so that we can start to plan with a budget window, a budget thing over there, what's going on. I think that's probably a challenge for this board in the next year, of getting to the idea of telling the people who can start to do things what money is available to be able to do that, rather than have them constantly plan and then just give us budget estimates, but that collectively the four governance agencies don't and haven't been talking about. I think we need to begin to do that. And thank you for your report, Daniel.
Any other comments? Okay, so Daniel, it's my last meeting. I'm not known to not speak my mind. First off, I want to tell you, I appreciate the efforts you've put into this because this has been an ongoing thing. I've asked you a lot of questions over time. This board has put a lot of pressure on you, but ultimately where I see this, and please tell me if I'm wrong, we have a system owner that has $1,224,641 of unpaid user fees. So any of these upgrades would increase the user, it's not free. There's nothing free. We have one pot of money. And so if people aren't paying their bills, it leaves the system owners stuck with this risk. So if that is the standard, not standard, but if that is going to be the practice, it is very scary for a system owner to take on that liability when at any time someone cannot pay the bill. So from my perspective, I think that's where we are. I think that is flat out where we are. If we're asking those system owners to take a risk that people can choose to not pay, and what are you going to do? You're not going to turn off their system. So to me, and like I said, I apologize for being frank, but that's the elephant in the room and the challenge that this board is going to have to face when we're putting these requests before our system owners. I just hope that you'll consider the risk we're asking them to take with the current situation. So, but Daniel, I so appreciate that you put a lot of time into this. And I look forward to seeing where this goes in the future. I do want to acknowledge that a lot of those 13 points that were brought up initially, a lot of them have been achieved. And then the system owners have done a lot of work, and they've heard us, they've heard the users. I know that there's still work to do. And I'm confident that you guys will continue on that journey. I really wanted to see it in my time, but I'm really grateful for that. And I hope that this board can help figure out how we get those bills paid so that we can move forward. Thank you so much.
Chair, appreciate the comments.
All right, Finance Committee update. Fun with finance, Sarah.
Good morning. So we had this meeting on November 3rd. So I was like racking my brain because that was the day before election. And so my head was somewhere else, but I do have my notes. So I just want to quickly go through what we discussed. So we have a reimbursement policy, but that's not really what we do, right? Somebody doesn't spend the money and then tell us what they're going to spend it on. So we're going to move it to a budget process policy, which makes more sense that people are asking for something and it's put in the budget. That just clearly is what we're doing instead. The other part here is the Washington State Patrol agreement. I didn't know this, but we have an agreement that we've been doing for a long time with the Washington State Patrol, and they actually taken like 100,000 calls between I-5 and on Highway 512, and they staff it themselves, but we pay for the phone system that's there. And so the PSAP system needs to be updated, their call handling equipment, and so we need to just do a new agreement with them. And then the 911 CHE, the call handling equipment replacement, I didn't know this either, but we have a Canadian company that we work with, and we've just had some glitches. Like last year, like at 4th of July, there was some glitches. And so I'm sad to say this, but we're going to move to Motorola. Not that Motorola is not good, but I like the idea it was Canadian because they're right here. But also, I think with the way things are going in our climate, it probably makes sense to have something that's located here in America that we can like have control over getting pieces in case anything happens. So if we have redundancies, they're available to help us with it. So those are the 3 things. Are there any questions? Wow. Okay. Thank you. Oh, thank you.
That is raised his hand. Thank you, Sarah. Executive Director Yamamoto.
Good morning, board. Day today, and so I'm glad everybody's made it here. I accused some of our fire commissioners of ordering the extra rain just to suppress brush fires, but I think they took that well. So we're to the part of our agenda where we talk about some of our operations internally here, and it's a way of acknowledging the staff that really stands watch 24 hours a day. We call it Heroes Wear Headsets, and I've got two scenarios to talk about. One is it's entitled Minor Caller, but that really means it's a child calling for help. And so our telecommunicator on August 29 is Isaac Pineda. And Isaac took probably one of the toughest kind of calls to take, and that's a hysterical child calling in extreme distress because mom and dad are fighting, and not just yelling at each other, flat out physical altercation. And so Isaac, super well trained. You listen to the tape, you can hear how Isaac shifts into calm, professional, assurative, provides quality instructions to the child, helps de-escalate the hysteria, and helps protect the child and the other children in the residence until help can get there. So a tough thing to be the adult, to be the steady person, to be the professional, while you have this new little human being on this planet crying for help because mom and dad are in a physical altercation. So thank you very much to Isaac Pineda for being a pro. Also, we have a confined space medical emergency, and I think this is where sort of the insight and the professionalism again of our folks that work the line shows up. This is telecommunicator Scott Dolan and dispatcher Val Ty. So Scott Dolan took the call about a person experiencing a medical emergency in a confined space. So this was a worker, and as we know, more in the modern era, going down in trenches in earthworks and in construction projects is really dangerous, especially when the soil gets wet. It'll cave in on people and collapse. And so this person was actually having a medical emergency down in there. I understand it was probably something cardio related in the trench, and so very difficult to get to them. But Scott recognized that quickly, and so he was able to give instructions to the other workers on the construction site and rapidly get dispatch engaged. So once dispatch was notified, Val had dispatched immediate help field units to the site, and they were able to extract the individual, of course, and provide help. A casual person wouldn't recognize the dangers, and because our line staff is superbly well trained, they recognize these things and they move quickly. And as we know, seconds matter in this industry. So thank you very much to Scott Dolan and Val Ty for superb professionalism, for broader awareness, and for looking out for your fellow human being. Okay, so beyond Heroes Wear Headsets, I just wanted to sort of remind all of us that we've had a heck of a year. There was two major things that started this, and that's just people in their work trajectories or career trajectories taking a different direction. And so Director Grady moved on to a different career aspect, as did Peter, right at the beginning of the year or the end of the previous year. And so that had a cascading effect in the organization. And I'll remind you of all the many things or some of the things that you had to do in response. And so January, Director Grady announces a resignation. Then quickly, Chair Dorr is saying, oh boy, we've got some surprises that are happening. Let's get some holes filled. She made arrangements to hook me up with Debbie. And so I went and interviewed, and Debbie said, hey, will you serve as general counsel? And oh, by the way, also as interim executive director. And so that happens in January. The board, in response, formalized that and appointed me as the interim executive director in February. The chair formed in March a search committee, and that work commenced then immediately in March and extended all the way through August. In April, General Counsel Rosenberg was hired since Peter had left. The consulting firm was hired. So the search committee went through a whole process of selecting search consultants and made that selection in April. Because the year wasn't complex enough already. In June, the 911 tax audit drops on us out of the blue. So more complications ensued. July was, of course, our budget study session and then eventually budget passage in August. August also included board interviews. If you recall, the board actually convened a special meeting in an evening so you could come and interview candidates. Like I said, the budget was adopted in August. The board made its final selection on executive director, and that contract was approved in September. We had a big radio study session here in October, and then the radio owners group meeting to follow up. So a lot of things, a transition of leadership here, big radio issue focus, lots of things have occurred this year, and I appreciate the leadership that's been shown. You folks have diligently worked through all those issues despite the surprise, and we're here at the end of the year with a reformulated organization and looking forward into the next year. So some of the things that we're going to do next year in the first quarter, we will have a report to you on personnel and structure, a report to you on labor. In February, because the bylaws and the charter require it, you will elect representatives of the chair and vice chair positions specifically. It's structured that way, by the way, so that each of the partner agencies in January can select their members that will sit on this board. And then, let's see, and then Clerk Lieberger reminds me that our 2026 board appointments come up, and she has also included the form that we will submit to your clerks and so forth at your local jurisdiction. So make sure that form gets back to us, and that will create the new positions on the board. All right, so let's move on to some other parts of our agenda, and then I'll be back up for some additional proceedings.
Operations and facility update, Mark Mears. Morning.
Good morning. Good morning, board. Good morning, chairs. I'll keep this kind of short, and we got a lot of good stuff to go ahead and do later this morning. So I wanted to say my board reports on page 57. I gave everybody a snapshot of where we've been at for the last 6 months related to training. Training continues to go well. Our newest class, academics, started this month, so we've got a group in there. We're really excited in the fact that we've been able to add the data group into the classroom environment now with us, so that we can continue the cross training, and we hope to have all the cross training completed between data and call taking sometime by mid-year, at least related to data in 2026. As far as facilities is going, no work at the PSCOC. We're hunkered down, ready for winter, working on making sure that we've got all the snow removal and ice removal pieces in place for the group here. And then for 35th Street, we're winding up the year in a really, really good spot. All the majority, 95% of the internal infrastructure related to the building and the remodel is completed. We've got some mechanical pieces left yet. The HVAC still needs some work done with it. There's still a little bit of work left on the fire suppression. And then hopefully with your approval for the west design, we'll be able to move forward with the final electrical evaluation and get that piece in place so that we can go ahead and bring everything back online the way we had it prior to the remodel. With that, I guess I would just want to echo what Kevin said. It's been a heck of a year. It's actually been a heck of a couple years, and I want to thank the board for all the support, and Julie for your leadership. Very much appreciated. We couldn't do it without you all, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. So with that, it's my report.
Any questions for Board Member Branstetter?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to clarify in your comment regarding 35th Street and of saying that there are things you can move forward with the Design West approval. Is the action item that's on our agenda later this meeting going sufficient for you to be able to do that, or is there some other?
So that's
Yep.
I would say that that's phase one. They're going to do the complete evaluation of it. As we brought up before, when we took the floor up and started looking at the electrical wiring and the data underneath, not as sufficient for what we need moving forward with the facility. We cleaned up a bunch of it, did regrounding. So this is their final piece for evaluation to tell us what we actually need to either add or change. So I would say this is phase one, and then we'll come back to you with the recommendations related to any improvements we need to make.
So if we act positively on this action item, we can move forward up until the point of where there's another action item.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Online? Mark, thank you so much. I've appreciated your guidance and always being willing to pick up the phone and answer my questions and help me along the way. This is a complex board, complex issues, and you've always been there to support me. So thank you and Merry Christmas.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. So.
All right. Okay. Excuse me.
Item on the agenda is the recognition of Chair Dorr. This is in our agenda item 8. I wanted to preface a few comments here. I've known Chair Dorr probably since I think 2013. And I'll just trace some of that history. And so I'm trying to think about you, Chair Dorr, over the years. There's a lot of phrases that kind of pop up, and they're from you. So one of them that you've told me with great regularity is, "You are not the boss of me." Others in the audience might have heard that. Oh, by the way, there are nutritional products over on the table. So everybody's welcome to those. They're full of vitamins and other such things. So help yourselves. Don't feel bashful. Also, okay, so Chair Dorr has also said, when I am not particularly helpful, I've got no use for you. That's a quote from, what movie is it? Help me out there, Chair.
I've got no more use for this guy,
Yeah,
my cousin
yep.
Vinny.
Yeah, My Cousin Vinny. So she has a ton of quotes from that because it's a movie about legal practice. Also, when she's really ticked off, then she will declare, "Off with their heads," like the Red Queen. Some of you might have heard that. But I think probably the one thing that Julie recognizes about herself and has said, and I think that we've all seen, is that you're a fighter. And that word you have used from the get-go and even recently. And I think that is probably one of the most consistent themes that I've seen. I know a little bit about your life history, and some of that is that you have brothers. You are one daughter or sister among 3 brothers. And I am one of 3 brothers. And so I understand the scrappy relationships among brothers. And I think you took your early lessons from that, and you had to learn to scrap and fight with brothers. And it has shown up in your adult life in spades. So fighter is what you are.
Can I interject?
Yeah.
I remember at City Hall when you found out I had 3 brothers, you said, that explains a lot.
Yes, it does. So if you don't understand why Julie is a fighter, she's got 3 brothers. I'll give you a little bit of history about Chair Dorr. She came to politics in 2013. She was actually elected to fill a vacant position at Puyallup and took that seat, and then of course was reelected in 2017 and 2021. And Puyallup, by the way, is one of the few jurisdictions that has term limits. So Julie has now run into her term limits, and that's the reason she's ending this chapter of where she is. So that's how she starts. I remember the specific context too. There was a strange situation in Puyallup where a father of a son who had been convicted of not sure particular to crime, but probably something like, how would you characterize it? Help me out here.
Rape
Sexual assault, something like
yeah,
that.
of a minor.
Yeah, of a minor. And the father wanted to create what he characterized as a halfway house in the middle of a perfectly happy neighborhood in the middle of Puyallup so his son and other folks could live there. Can you imagine the outcry that occurred in Puyallup? And Chair Dorr ended up being, I would characterize her as one of the most prominent community organizers in that effort. She helped facilitate a strong community response. The Puyallup, what's the name of the facility? I'm trying to blank.
Pavilion.
Yes, the pavilion was entirely packed with folks who were probably 99.9% opposed to the effort. And so you could see Julie's effectiveness even at that early stage in her early political life. The themes that occurred rapidly after that I observed, and I even made the observation, I called her, I said, clearly you're a strong supporter of labor type of politician. And then the biggest one that's been apparent, strong supporter of public safety. Public safety has been key to Julie's platform since the beginning. And so that makes a ton of sense that Julie is here. She was, I'm trying to think of some of the history. Puyallup joined this organization, its predecessor organization, in 2014 when it was an interlocal agency. There was a prior council member who was appointed to the seat at that time, but Julie took over in 2016. And beginning of 2016 through the end of 2025 this year has been a full decade. So your impacts, your involvement have been prominent. I remember early times we were on the cost allocation committee together, wrangling with all kinds of folks from other jurisdictions. Councilmember Brandstetter was there. We all had strong arms because we were arm wrestling with other jurisdictions about who should pay what. Chair Dorr was instrumental in establishing governance and making sure the system was fair and people got to participate. And then I was gone after about 2019, but I am very aware that some of the coloring on this floor is red from the bloody battles that occurred about revenue. I think Ms. Hunter is here to talk about that too. So, and all of that, Chair Dorr was a central participant. She helped when this interlocal agency switched over into a public development authority, which this is now a public corporation. A key component of that, she sat on the 11-member board from the get-go and now as its chair for several years. The themes that I've said again are very strong themes that if you've watched Chair Dorr over the years are public safety. But I think insofar as this agency is concerned, it's clear that Chair Dorr, you are a champion of South Sound 911 to the core. And so because of that, South Sound 911 thanks you for your years of service, literally a decade of service, so much, and I have seen, only parts of it, but so much effort on your behalf to get this organization off the ground and working well. So we've got a number of folks that have come and want to make some comments. We'll have them do that at this point, and then we'll follow up with a little further ceremony. And if the clerk can maybe facilitate having folks come on up. I know some have already registered with her, but others might want to speak.
Shall we start with Debbie? She's online.
Former Director Gray.
As long as she's ready.
You may not.
There she is.
I'm ready. Good morning, South Sound 911 Board of Directors and Chair Dorr. It is so wonderful to see all of you and to see that Board Member Brandstetter has returned and to hear the conversations that make it sound like I just left a few days ago. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak just for a minute and share some appreciation of Chair Dorr Julie's time on the South Sound 911 board. I wrote a few things down so I would be able to get through it without choking up a bit. And so here's what I want to share with everyone is to say, Julie, I say thank you to you for your service to the community and express my appreciation for your time on South Sound 911 Board of Directors, and especially your time as chair. I see Board Member Branstetter has returned, so I think the two of you may now be tied for the longest serving South Sound 911 board member. During your time as chair, I saw you take on difficult and challenging issues, not because you enjoyed contention, although Kevin's right, you are a fighter, but because of your deep commitment to doing the right thing, ensuring South Sound 911 was on the right path for the future, and because of your commitment to public safety. Your leadership, integrity, approachability, courage, and consensus building helped shape the agency's interaction with board members and the partner agencies. I have many stories and memories of working with you, Julie. One of my favorites is when we teamed up on what we ended up calling our traveling roadshow to the partner agencies. Julie, I so admire your efforts to learn all you could about 911, do your homework, do your research, and I watched during those meetings as you became clearly very fluent in speaking 911. This was a great example of collaboration and outreach to educate the partner agencies and to really help strengthen the partnerships that South Sound had with all of them. It's hard to believe and imagine South Sound 911 without you as chair. As you start your next adventure, I hope you realize you have made a lasting difference on the community, not just Puyallup, but all of Pierce County. Additionally, you touched my life personally, and I'm so grateful I had the opportunity to work with you. I wish you all the best and know you will continue to be a shining star in public service. And Julie, I'm giving you a big virtual hug and just thank you for all the time I got to spend with you.
Thank you. And thank you so much for taking the time to be here. We were in the trenches on quite a few issues. And if I would have thought about it, I would have brought my glasses. So, Debbie, thank you for your service. Do you still have them?
I do.
That's an inside joke. I don't know. You've touched my life. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for your example, your patience, your leadership, and your mentoring of me. We got to know each other very well through this process, and I am grateful for that and grateful to call you my friend.
Me too.
Thank you. Oh, look. This is Marlene. Debbie has a matching pair. There is, I'm still standing. So we've had some battles, but Debbie had, and it made me, somehow it made me think of, oh, isn't it Elton John?
It is.
Yeah. So this, I got her Elton John glasses. So then I would show up on some of our meetings with these glasses on. So we're still standing, Debbie.
We are.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Lillian Hunter. And then anybody else that might want to make some comments, you're welcome as well.
Chair Dorr, first I want to just say hello to the staff, and I haven't been in this room for about 4 years, and when I came back in, I remember that my time working with Julie and also with Debbie Grady and being part of the South Sound 911 work was one of the most important things that I think I did in my public service career. And so to the staff, I salute you and thank you for your good work. Kevin, thank you for acknowledging the people, boots on the ground, heroes with headphones on, just to really reinforce the important work that goes on here. And as I came in, I thought, I really miss this group. And then you did your radio report and I thought, no, there's some things I don't really miss here. You know, it's good to know that everything old is new again, but I applaud your tenacity for hanging in there, Daniel, and continuing the good work. So I was fortunate enough to, when I came on the South Sound 911 board representing City of Tacoma as a council member, and the early meetings when we had them in Lakewood City Hall. And that was when I met Julie, and we just didn't quite know of how we were going to interact and what was going on. But it didn't take long for us to realize that we were like-minded and we could see what the goal was and we could see the vision. And Julie, you became such a good working partner at that time and continue to be not only a good working partner, but also a good friend whose friendship I will cherish forever. I also have some quotes that I'm very familiar with that I courtesy of Chair Dorr. All of them contain language which prohibits me from sharing any of them with you right now, but know that they were colorful, meaningful, and actually between us sort of appropriate at the time. I'm very grateful for our opportunity to work together, particularly doing the important work of South Sound 911 and the safety of our community and the response time there. And none of this work happens in a vacuum. No one does it alone, but it was a great partnership. And to be part of that action with Julie at such a pivotal time for the agency really remains one of the highlights of my career in public service. So Julie, this is, the end of an era here at South Sound 911 with your departure, Debbie's departure, and a few years ago, my departure, but we were the three musketeers. And yes, there were some battles royale, and we, in working together, managed to get it done. And just walking into this building today, and one of the things about the South Sound 911 and this endeavor, we get things done. And in public service, so much of it is just, going in circles. Daniel, I know you have that. There's an element of that. But hats off to this board and to this team and to the heroes with headphones on for all the good work you do. Thank you for allowing me to be part of it. And thank you, Julie, for allowing me to be your partner. Thank you.
Lillian, I just want to say thank you. You set the lead here, and I learned from you. And I'm gonna say a bad word. You're badass. And serving with you and that teamwork that we had just imprinted in my soul. We are bonded forever. Started here, but you will always be my friend, and I love you.
Morning, Chair Dorr, members of the board. Scott Ingold, Chief of Police in Puyallup and the current president of the Pierce County Police Chiefs Association. My comments this morning, Chair Dorr, both from myself, but also all of the police chiefs in our county. I want to start first with when I was a young kid, my parents always told me, leave something better than you found it, leave a legacy. As I started in law enforcement in 1998 in Sumner, I had a sergeant who shared those same sentiments with me. Do a good job, Scotty. Leave something better than you found it. And I think that's important for all of us and wherever we find ourselves in life, whatever we've been blessed to do in the positions we're in. And Chair Dorr, I echo the comments of Executive Director Yamamoto in your care for this agency, your absolute fire that burns inside for South Sound 911. That's been evident to so many of us since you've joined the board and led in this organization. And it's been so important to the men and women who are South Sound 911 that they have a group of individuals who are fighting for them and fighting for this organization. Your passion for South Sound 911 has been remarkable. I've been on the receiving end of some of those comments that the Director Yamamoto mentioned, but always in a good way, in a place and a heart that was focused on what is South Sound 911 doing for our customers, first responders, and our community, because that's really what the organization is about at the end of the day. Put the politics aside and every other issue that comes up. It's what South Sound 911 is doing for first responders and the citizens who call 911, usually when they're not having a good day. And that's been at the heart of all of your, and I would agree, I call you scrappy, of your scrappiness, your fighting for making sure that this organization is doing what it can for the people that it serves. The other thing I would highlight is your just absolute commitment to public safety. When South Sound 911, and I think you know I'm not one to be shy away from being blunt. When South Sound 911 was formed from an interlocal to a public entity, I think police and fire chiefs were probably not super excited about that because police and fire chiefs were kind of the board for this organization and insert politicians in politics. And there's always interesting thoughts about that. But what I appreciated about your tenure in leadership over that entire time, that transition, was how many times you said, at least to me personally and several other chiefs, what do the chiefs think about this? What do the responders think about this? Your absolute desire and your fire to make sure that you were understanding what first responders, what dispatchers, what police and fire chiefs thought, I frankly think is absolutely model. You did not lose sight of the folks who are on the receiving end of the decisions that are made by the South Sound 911 board. And I think that's something we can all learn from. And I think that's something we all appreciate very much, that you took the time to seek out other thoughts, other opinions. Lastly, I will just end on the note about the radio system. You asked me more questions about radio than I ever thought I would ever want to. I think I'm going to be in counseling forever over the radio system and your questions, but they were certainly well warranted, and I appreciate just your dedication to that. But on behalf of all of the police chiefs in Pierce County, we want to thank you for your service on South Sound 911. You have left something better than you found it. Your footprints, or your fingerprints, maybe your footprints too, but your fingerprints and your legacy will be here for quite some time. Thank you for your commitment to public safety and our first responders and dispatchers in this county. We thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you, Chief.
Well, for one last time, Madam Chair, it's good to be in front of you, speaking one more time while you're the chair. Throughout your tenure, I've appreciated the time that I've got to spend working on projects with you. When I heard that you were term limited and you were going to be stepping down as the chair, I thought I'm going to have to retire because I can't train a new chair. It's too much work. But I've held many hats throughout your tenure as the chair. I've been on the PSCOC as one of the co-chairs. I've also spent time as the president of the Fire Chiefs Association. So I got to have a lot of conversations with you on a lot of different topics. And I'm sure I'm not alone. I would get those phone calls from Julie, and you look at your phone, you think, do I have enough time for this? It was never a 5-minute phone call, but I appreciate those phone calls because they were longer phone calls because you had a long list of questions. They were always pertinent, and you wanted the answers, and more importantly, you wanted to understand the answers in very good detail. You wanted to make sure that this board and you were making a strong decision on behalf of South Sound 911, a decision that was rooted in education and understanding the issues and not just responding to the flavor of the day. So I do appreciate that when it became a PDA, the operations board was moved into the PSCOC. And at that point, it would have been very easy to sideline the police chiefs and the fire chiefs. And yet you have made a very, very strong and outward commitment to always keeping the fire chiefs and police chiefs squarely in the center of every discussion of relevance within this organization. And so I know I'm speaking on behalf of the fire chiefs as well as the police chiefs and the entire PSCOC that we do appreciate that anytime a decision was being made, one of the first questions you would ask is, where are police and fire on this? Have we discussed this with police and fire? Because at the end of the day, it has to work for the people on the streets. They have to be able to implement it. We can set a lot of policy and make a lot of decisions in a vacuum, but if it can't make a difference on the street, it doesn't make a difference in the community. So I do appreciate that you have kept our opinions and our thoughts squarely in the middle of every discussion. And I know I speak for all of police and fire that we're gonna miss your leadership, and we appreciated all the effort and commitment and tenacity that you put into this body of work. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. Chief Sharp and Chief Fisher, he's not here, but Chair Hunter and I spent 45 minutes on a meeting learning about concealed pistol license once. So thank you, Chiefs, for educating us, taking the time to make sure that we understand, because it's through this board we make policy decisions, but if it doesn't make sense on this to the people, the boots on the ground, we don't know what we're doing. And so you guys have spent a lot of time with me, helping me understand, walking me through scenarios. And when I saw your notice, I saw it on social media that you were retiring. I said, please let him stay till the end of the year. So thank you for hanging out there with me.
All right, so I understand there is a tradition here at South Sound. Oh,
Can I?
oh, did I miss? I am sorry.
I just,
Okay.
thank you, Kevin, for just giving me 1 second. Because I actually have to leave. I want to say, Julie, that you have been such a fantastic leader. First off, you fought so hard to get me on this South Sound 911 board. And I hope that you've taught me a lot. I've learned a lot about acronyms and about systems that I didn't know anything about. And you were so patient with me and helpful. You gave me lots of opportunities to lead, and I really appreciate where I am today. This organization means a lot to me because of you. We have a different background. You know, I bring domestic violence and sexual assault, that side of it, to when we talk about public safety and understanding how that fits into this system and how important 911 is because of that. Like it's one of the number one things people call in about. But I just want to say that your memory will be here for a long time. And one of the things I've really enjoyed about you is that you don't bring the politics here. You've been very careful to be the leader who leads with what the issues are and not being political. And I appreciate that because this is a safe space for people in this county to get together and talk about something we should all care about. And I think we do care about. And I do appreciate exactly what the people from fire and police just said about you, and that you included them in the conversations. And I hear you say it all the time. And it's so, for me, that's important that you have, because I might not have known about that if you hadn't brought it up so many times, how significant and important that is. So thank you so much for everything you've done. I'm sad you're leaving, but we also have term limits at our city, and it's a good thing. So, because Mr. Brandstetter has been here for a long time, because they don't have any term limits in Lakewood.
Yes.
Sorry.
We have parole board, and I keep lying, and they keep telling me, no, you're.
But, here he is back. It's like the cat came back. But Julie, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to thank you. And I hope I can call you if I have questions.
You absolutely can. Thank you, sir.
All right, so I understand there's a tradition or beginning tradition, because this is a fairly new organization, where outgoing chair is presented with, or perhaps board member is presented with what we call logo wear here. So I'll come forward, and then this is nicely wrapped, but I'm going to take it apart just so that these are logo wear that's just acquired for the organization. And it's a tradition that occurs here. So I'll come forward. I'm not going to have you don this. This is appropriate for today's weather. Here. Okay, and then one more.
Chief, where's Chief go? I told you I would wear blue today.
Now, Chair Dorr, as a fighter, has often used instruments to bludgeon her opponents. And my head has some bruises that have shown that. So Chair Dorr loves a mallet, as you can see. And so what we've acquired is a crystal mallet. Now you may think this is nice and pretty, but actually it's it's got a fail-safe mechanism built into it, because it's crystal. So if she whacks me over the head, it's probably going to break and can't be used again. So one-time use. But he thinks about fighting.
Don't give it to her now. I'm sitting next to her.
You go, Chair. You're welcome. Very nice. And just one final comment, Chair. On behalf of the organization, as had been said in many different ways, You've spent a decade working with us, being part of our lives. I think all of us have made the point to you who know you. You still live here. You're still part of Pierce County. You're still part of our family. Don't be a stranger. Come visit us. Petition us about issues that are important to you. But fundamentally, we thank you for working with us, for being part of our family, and for being that champion for South Sound 911.
Thank you. Goodbyes are not my strength. And I remember Lillian saying this too. This has been the highlight of my elected service. Because I got to know each and every one of you. Consider you friends. You're part of my heart, but and so is this agency and every person in it. I've done the double plug. I've done tried to learn. That's when I always try to learn what somebody else is experiencing or what they're going through, because how can I lead if I don't go find out? So it's really has been very important to me, and I can't thank every person on the floor, today, but I see them. I appreciate them. I've been, unfortunately, the recipient of some excellent service when I had to place a call to this agency. I will never forget that call taker, and as traumatic as my incident was, she stayed with me, and she had no idea who I was. She didn't know I was on the board. So, and that meant so much to me, because it wasn't because it just showed me who is responding to our customers, our constituents. And it was with grace and patience and very calming in a very traumatic situation. We have an excellent agency, and I'm so proud of everybody in it. I'm really, really gonna miss you. Marlena, you have taken such good care of me and Jamie. Marlena makes sure I am so prepared for every situation. And sometimes I've called Marlena going, what? And she's like, I got it. I got it. Well, I still will. It'll just be something else. But thank you for the honor of serving and caring for our community in this fashion, caring for our first responders, because each and every one of you are so important to me, and you make a difference in the lives of our community and our constituents, the people that I love. So I appreciate this honor. Thank you. I gotta find my agenda. All right, moving on to action items. Will the clerk please read the first action item?
Action item number 1, motion 2025-46 to authorize a contract with Motorola for the purchase of a 911 call handling system in an amount not to exceed $4,775,000.
Chair, this project started a number of years ago while Director Grady was serving as director, and the organization experienced what would freeze or cause fear in a lot of operators of PSAPs, and that's the system failed. It reached its capacity, and it wasn't able to handle the call volume on July 4th, which is often our highest call volume by far and away. And as a result of that, various PSAP operators in the state of Washington that used the system got together. They put a lot of pressure on the vendor, and the vendor came up with a quick fix. And so a quick fix was installed and seemed to address the issues. But as all the PSAP operators have recognized, and as Director Grady came to the conclusion, the system that exists here doesn't have the capacity to handle the volume that occurs here on the 4th of July. And so a process was set in motion to evaluate alternatives. And after it's been a lengthy process of evaluation, about a year and a half, 2 years, the conclusion that staff came here was that the best system out there right now, by far and away, is the Motorola Vesta system. It's been adopted in Spokane and the Fairchild Air Force Base out there. And we are proposing that the board approve this as well. We don't call these phone systems except sort of a common, easy to refer to way. They are actually call handling systems. They're comprised of complex server and computing technologies behind the scenes. And then also on the front side, it's just not dials and buttons, but rather a highly proprietary interface where our call takers and dispatchers use these systems. We have gone through an extensive process over months with the Motorola staff, and they're here and they're available to answer questions. So Castle, Nicole, and Larson are here if you have questions about anything in here. But we have pared down the package to, in essence, where we believe it's highly appropriate. We don't have any extra bells and whistles added into the system. But Motorola, because they recognize this is their flagship system and want to establish a quality relationship with us, have offered one of the additional assist packages, we call it Assist, to the organization for free for a year. In essence, if we like it, then maybe we're interested in buying it into the future. So there's an extra component, and I'd say $700 to $1,000 rough value or more that Motorola has added just to sweeten the deal. So we are strongly confident after vetting this. We vetted this at all different levels on staff. We had the technical review, made sure the hardware was right. We've gone through the feature set and decided which features we're actually going to use and be important to us. So we've made feature set decisions. And then I very much appreciate the work from finance. As you can see in the packet, right at the end of the agenda bill, I've sort of set out the payment arrangements. And so it's not $4.7 million all at once. It's spread over a 3 or 4 year period as the milestones or important events occur. So very confident in the proposal that's before you. Obviously, it's your discretion as to whether or not to buy this call handling system, but staff is supportive and the proposal is ready to go. And like I said, the Motorola folks are here, so you can ask them questions directly if you so desire.
Madam Chair, real quick.
Vice Chair McElligott.
Kevin, is this, I think I see it, it's a 5-year contract?
Yeah, roughly, it seems 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
5 years?
Yep.
Okay. And do we own the equipment after that?
We do.
Okay.
And in fact, we'll own the equipment as soon as they ship it to the facility.
Okay.
Any other questions? Board Member Bushnell?
Thank you, Chair. And thank you for that question. I was thinking also about the lifespan of the equipment itself. So do we have a kind of an idea of what the lifespan for this equipment would be?
I will say it off the cuff, but I would actually ask the Motorola folks, but I think it's probably decade-ish that we're thinking about for these systems that typically go. The item that's next on your agenda, which is having to do with WSP, their system has gone for about 11 years.
Okay.
So it's about a decade.
And then additionally, does this include periodic updates? I'm guessing it's like a subscription model.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yep.
No, I'll just stay here. That's fine.
I was
Yeah.
just sit down a long time.
I wanted to
Ask another question.
You have an
Yeah.
iWatch, is it saying stand up?
100%. Yeah. And as you can see in the pricing that's at the end of the agenda bill, a component of it is called maintenance and so forth.
Oh, I
We
see.
absolutely need to have that standing relationship with the vendor because we don't have the technical folks on our site to be able to do that work. And so it's a 4 or 5 year partnership with them.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's really important to continue up with security updates and things of
100%.
that nature. Then just the final question I had on there. I see it says here like piggyback pricing. Could you kind of explain what does that mean? Does that mean like we're leveraging?
Yeah, so piggyback pricing, rather than us negotiating directly with Motorola, we use the pricing that's been established by another government entity. Usually we would use like a Seattle. Has Seattle bought, 10 cars for its fleet? We'll go to the dealer and say, we want to get the same price that Seattle got, and the dealer gives us that same price. So in the state of Minnesota, they have a whole system built around it. It's called Sourcewell. And so that in Minnesota, if you bought, and by the way, this occurs in Texas and other states, piggybacking occurs across state lines. And so pricing has been established through the Sourcewell program in Minnesota, and we've agreed to use that pricing. It's been vetted, and so it gives us the assurance that, hey, this is solid quality pricing. We don't have to figure out the pricing ourselves. So we're using the Sourcewell, Minnesota piggybacking arrangement, which is allowed in Washington law.
Great. Thank you. Does Fairchild and Spokane also utilize that?
Yes, they do.
Great. All right. That's all I got. Thank you.
Any further questions on this item? Board Member Branstetter.
Perhaps you can, got plenty of people to point to, that I just trying to get in the cost. So, that we're looking at a 4 million plus contract to do that. And then there is in years 2 through 5, separate invoicing for the maintenance, which would be, so that the 5-year cost adds another 2.3 million to that.
It's in the 4.7.
It's in the 4.7. So, but it's going to be invoiced not in 2025. So that,
Let's get to the page. 165. Everyone take a look at 165.
165. Yep.
I think it's going to the contract itself.
So for 2026, that then we're going to pay like 2.6 or 2.4.
Yeah, on 160 on page 165. So it breaks out the milestone payments. So the first milestone is 25%, and that's at contract execution. So that 617,000 will hit the 2025 budget. And then milestones 2, 3, and 4 will hit as those occur in 2026.
And so the 2026 budget, and what we put in our 2026 budget is essentially the 2.47.
Yeah, we actually have $3 million budgeted because we weren't sure at the pricing at the time that the budget was adopted. So we have plenty of budget availability in 2026. And then the support system for years 2 through 5 is the $576,000.
And so those are budgeted in the out years in that way
Right.
to be able to go and do that.
Yeah, so the contract's a 5-year contract that gives us support for that through that 5-year period. So
So-
after that 5-year period, if we're going to maintain that same equipment, then we would renegotiate a price for maintenance in those years past that 5-year period.
So going forward in years 2 through 5, that we approve the contract today, then the only thing that remains is in each of those years' budgets to put the money in, but there won't need to be a reapproval of a contract unless we add some other optional feature.
Correct. So yeah, additional options, if there's an inflationary adjustment or something like that, then we would come back to the board with that for your approval for those.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Before Janet sits down, any questions? Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Chair, sorry, just one more question. Obviously, this is a large system. I think it's definitely well worth the investment. And so I'm fully supportive of it. But I also want to make sure that as technologies change and I really believe in competition in the market. Do we have are we setting aside money for replacement or contract renewal within like after the terms of this contract is over, reassessment of needs of the agency and the technologies that we need? And obviously Motorola likely continue to compete in that space as well, but I think it's really important and prudent as an agency that we're continually looking to see what the best available is out there. And so are we setting aside for that end of contract? I know it's thinking about far in the future and I'll be long gone, but I think it's really important to set that from the beginning.
It's possible, yeah, a decade down the road. But I will say this, when I've come to this organization, I've found that Janet is superb about budgeting for our capital replacement needs. And so this project can happen, not because we had to come up and scramble with the money, literally because Janet and the staff have been budgeting for these kind of things ahead of time. And so that practice will continue. And I agree with you, technology will change, the fundamental change that this system brings really embraces is a switch from an old analog style system, which we've all been using since, the 1960s or so forth, to a modern voice over internet protocol, digital based system. And so we'll see what technology brings. In 5-7 years, we'll see something different. And I suspect it's going to be a lot having to do with satellite communications. When we get to those key points, maybe 5 years down the road, then we'll really be seeking policy direction from this board about, hey, do we go with this technology route or this technology route? But the scenes behind, Janet will be dutifully budgeting on capital replacement for that. So I'm confident that we'll have funds to be able to do that.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
No, okay. I thought I had a question.
No.
Any more questions on this action item? Alternate lane, please.
Yes. So I just, Kevin, you said that this contract kind of been working, or this process been working through for the last year or so. And I'm just curious, has this been worked with the finance committee? Have they been kind of kept up to speed and kind of reviewing it? Have they seen this contract, or is this kind of the first time that the board is being presented with this?
Yeah, the finance committee reviewed it as recently as November 5. I think that was the last finance committee meeting. And then previously, in the years that I haven't been here, I think it's been touched on certainly under Debbie Grady's or Director Grady's tenure. But I wasn't here then. Perhaps Janet can speak to that.
Sure, yes, we have had discussions periodically since 2023, I believe, is when the big issue happened with the 911 phone calls. So we have been periodically talking about that and working with Motorola for quite some time now.
Thank you.
And people were very unhappy that July 4th. And so the former executive director met with several other jurisdictions that were having the same issues. This has been going on for a long time, and it makes me feel very comfortable and glad that we are finally addressing that situation. Vice Chair McGilligan.
Yeah, I was going to make the motion, but just before, I want to make sure, so Board Member Lane knows, Sarah presented the Finance Committee report earlier, and they were in full support of this coming to the board today. So I just want to make sure that that we're aware that the Finance Committee did review this and did come forward. And with that, I make a motion to approve 2025-46 authorization of $4.775 thousand to Motorola.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to move motion 2025-46. All those in favor, please signify by, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just have one discussion point that I would want to make. And this is a really significant milestone for us to do that, to move forward in a philosophy of constant improvement. And I would say that but we're spending $4.5 million on it. And as we communicate to the public that we are doing that, I think that it's important to emphasize that this isn't solely about July 4th, that this is about going forward as the population of Pierce County is going to increase, as the things that go on, and as unexpected situations, whether they're disasters or something that happens, to ensure that we're in a situation of where we're not answering the preponderance of the calls, but we're going to be able to answer and respond to all the calls. And that's the significance of this, beyond just a 1 day a year fix. It's a fix for the future.
I concur with that. And it is that July 4th just exposed the weakness in the system. And so regardless of what it is that happens, we need to be able to respond to those calls. We were not getting calls. Okay, any further discussion? Did you make, no, I don't even remember. There's, okay, so I got a motion on the floor. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next.
Ready for the second one? Okay. Action item number 2 is motion 2025-47 to authorize a funding agreement with Washington State Patrol for a 911 call handling equipment in an amount not to exceed $464,100.
As a primary PSAP that takes emergency phone calls. The area that they serve is a specialized area, and the easy way to think about it is where 512 and I-5 intersect. We all know there's a ton of traffic volume that goes through those areas. The Washington State Patrol, through modern technology, basically takes all the calls. They've sort of shrunk down the call receiving basically to the highways that occur there, and those calls are directly routed to WSP. If WSP did not exist, all those calls from 512 and I-5 would come directly to our organization. Our organization would intake them, and guess what? Then transfer the calls back to WSP so WSP could respond to and provide service there. So there's been a longstanding relationship where WSP is sort of a specialist PSAP, not only in Pierce County, but Thurston County as well, covering those highway areas. And all those calls go directly to the WSP organization. They have a staff of about 150 people, and the call system that they use, the WSP uses an Entrado call handling based system. That's not something we support, run here, operate, or have any specialty for. So what we're evolving this relationship to, by the way, this was one of the loose ends that I referred to in our budget session. This is an agreement that's needed to be memorialized that has existed for a long time. And that's what we're attempting to do here. So first of all, turn it into writing, and then perpetuate or continue the relationship because they're providing a first line direct service for 911 calls that occur on the highway. Strongly supportive of this relationship because if you think about it, I initially had some reactions to it as like, well, okay, wait a second, why is local Pierce County money going to support a state level operation? Well, the service that they're actually providing is a local service, and it directly supplants or assists with the broader emergency communications umbrella of services that occur across the county. So they basically cover the highway. 911, South Sound 911 covers the rest of the geographic areas except for some additional pockets. So a very specialized service. We're offering just to pay for a grant, the phone system, which would have been paid for under the old 911 office arrangement in Pierce County. We just want it in writing and to make sure that they get their phone system. So I very much appreciate, by the way, the work that finance has done on working this through with WSP. Strongly supportive of going forward this. I think this is a very good relationship and we should continue this.
Any questions? I was waiting for him to sit. Board Member Bushnell.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry for being long-winded today. Happy to support this, but my question is, and I think it's really important we memorialize these relationships, and I agree, especially basically it's a contract. And my question is there some level of service level agreements with them because they are operating within our area and because we have service level requirements here within our own PSAP, are those same things applied through this contract and their ability to respond to situations?
We are definitely not applying level of service requirements through this contract. Essentially, this is sort of like a grant. You're taking your local tax dollars and granting it so they can buy their own call handling system, their own phone system. But we've decided not to put anything in there like level of service requirements. It's just a very straightforward type of grant agreement that's before you. I'd have to go back and talk to staff about level of service and so forth, because I don't have a specific answer for you, Councilmember Bushnell. It's an interesting inquiry, but if you'll give me some time, I'll get back to you on it.
Yeah, I just think about as we are it's our money that's going to support this program, and not that it's not needed. Absolutely, it's needed, and I have no doubt that they're doing a great job over there. But whenever we're providing money, a grant or otherwise, there's some level, especially in a contractual obligation, some expectation of service, right? And so if it's not outlined in the contract, is it maybe in a MOU? It doesn't necessarily have to be in the contract.
And let me
itself,
answer it this way.
Yeah.
Right now, the level of service is more of an area of service.
Mhm.
It's, you've got the highway WSP? Yep. Okay. You've got the highway covered? Yes. We've got these other geographic areas covered. So it's more of a geographic split of the duty rather than a level of service. And there may be level of service requirements. I just don't know today.
Great. And then does this impact like agency assist or anything like that? Sometimes, we might need support from WSP, vice versa. They need support from us.
Very much so. Yes, that really helps with the interrelationship.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
move to approve motion 2025-47 to authorize funding agreement with Washington State Patrol for 911 call handling equipment in the amount not to exceed $464,100.
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Was that aye? Okay, wasn't sure about that. Okay, thank you. Those opposed? All right, motion carries.
Item number 3, motion 2025-48 to authorize a contract with Design West Engineering for electrical engineering design work at the 35th Street backup facility in an amount not to exceed $97,000.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
move to approve 2025-48.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Opposed? Motion is approved. And I hope that the board looked at page 219 because you're going to approve your calendar for next year. So I won't be here. I don't.
And item number 4, resolution 2025-05 is the 2026 Board of Directors meeting calendar.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
move to approve resolution 2025-05, 2026 Board of Directors meeting calendar.
Second.
Board Member Branstetter.
Just a couple of small details. It's housekeeping, actually. That we do. On the agenda, this is listed as resolution 2025-05. But the document in the packet is listed as resolution 2025-06.
I think the document does say 05. It is, but you're correct, under the attachment says 06. So the agenda.
So the question is, was there previously some other resolution 2025-05 and is this 06 or is it really 05?
It's 05 and I'll note the error.
Okay.
Kevin, can you stamp?
And then my only other thing is I've like I said, it's housekeeping. The meeting agenda looks fine. But since it addresses meetings, I would suggest that we currently have in place a policy that we publish on every meeting agenda about public comment. And it's a policy that was established by this board in 2019, pre-COVID and to do that. And I think that policy could be looked at so where we could refresh that policy and bring it up to be current. For instance, it says you can make public comment in person or in writing, but it doesn't say you can make it virtually at a meeting to be able to go and do that. And I think that an element of the policy, after having looked at it, is it says that public comment is strictly limited to commenting on action items in the agenda, which can sometimes get us to where we don't learn about things that we ought to be working on, but only kind of comments on things that we've already worked to death sometimes. So I would suggest if you could give some guidance to staff to in January bring a draft revision of that 2019 policy to the board to update it.
All right, thank you. And it looks like staff has noted that. Kendra's on it. Thank you, Kendra.
Does that mean we're going to see you in January?
No, I just did it. I just gave direction to staff to work on it and bring it back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's,
yeah.
that, do you see what I'm doing? I'm moving this way.
All right. Any other questions on the calendar? Vice Chair?
I made the motion to accept the resolution.
Joseph. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that you all will be meeting on the calendar before you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? All right, your calendar is approved. With that, are there any other items
Madam Chair.
or announcements? Yes, sir.
I think at this point, Scott, where are you? Hamel. Is Scott still in the room? Would you mind standing? Everybody understands Scott was through the chaos. He was here for before, during, and this issue. When Andrew Nidis was the executive director, Scott was kind of like the historian for the organization. And for the years that you were here, I want to say thank you for your time and effort. And I appreciate coming forward to the board today. So sometimes you don't get the approval, and we do recognize what you've done for this organization. So thank you. With that, I'd also like to say, and I think everybody will do it too, Julie is another person, 10 years or longer, providing service to this board and to what we've done. And being her vice chair for the last 4 years, I think it was. One thing about Julie, Kevin said it, Lillian said it, is that she's no fool for anybody. And that's good to have, because some of the times I believe that we should have gone in a different direction. And the meetings that we had, Julie was able to voice her opinion and make sure she reminded me that I'm the vice chair and she's the chair, and it works. And that's what makes for a good board, is to be able to have the comments and the conversations that you have. Doesn't mean we're going to agree all the time, but it does mean at the end of the day, when we come to the meeting, we're going to have each other's back. And I think that's what makes for a good chair and a good organization. So Julie, thank you for the years.
Okay. All right. Any other business or announcements? All right, but then with that, I will entertain my last motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you.